Everyone. You can't hear me. I can't hear myself. Good evening, everyone. Before we call the meeting to order, I would like to introduce Carol Still here from Willow Road Christian Church to start us with our invocation.
Would you pray with me? Gracious God, we come before you today thankful for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us. We thank you for this community that we're a part of. Thank you for this school board, for our educational system, for all of the teachers, administrators, and all of the staff people who make it all possible for our children to learn. We ask your blessings upon us now and guide these administrators as they go about your work. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Make note that all board members are present except for Kyle Whitehead and Amanda Phillips. Moving first, we will turn it over to Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Yes, and I would like to introduce Mrs. Kanega, principal of Taft Elementary School, to introduce our pledge leader today.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce you our spotlight student for this evening. This is Zoe Robinson. She is a fifth grader at our school. She's been at Taft for 3 years and just has jumped in and joined everything possible, and we are so proud of her. I'm just going to tell you a couple things about her, and then she's got a whole bunch she wants to say. Zoe has been a member of our TNN news crew ever since we started it. She has been a member of the Principals Leadership Council ever since we started it, and she's on Junior Safety Patrol, and this year she played on the first ever Enid Elementary Basketball League. So we had a good time with that, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself, Miss Zoe Robinson.
My parents are Sam and Shannon Robinson, and my mom is a teacher and a volleyball coach. I am currently in Junior Safety Patrol, Principals Leadership Council, and Tiger News Network. I enjoy being on these activities because I feel that it is important to keep kids safe and to help make Taft the best it can be. My family and I serve manna as often as possible at the First Presbyterian Church. My softball team and I share shifts ringing the Salvation Army bell. For my hobbies, I enjoy writing because it is a way to release different feelings. I also play softball and volleyball with my amazing teammates and coaches. I am most proud to have kept good grades this year, and I am also proud to be part of the Taft Principals Leadership Council to help make Taft a better and safer school for learning students.
Zoe Robinson.
Yeah. You guys will rise for the colors, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, march. Forward, march.
we've got several recognitions to make, and we'll just let you stay down there since you're Hopalong Cassidy on one leg, so we won't make you go back and forth. Amber?
Next, I would like to introduce the principal of Enid High School, Dudley Darrow, who is going to introduce our Spotlight Secondary student, as well as a student who is here to accept and be honored for a very prestigious award.
Good evening, everyone. It's definitely my honor tonight to introduce Alex Kim. Alex Kim is not only the Spotlight Student of the Month, but also Oklahoma Academic All-Stater this coming year. He'll be recognized in this, I believe, May 21st. It'll be a banquet in Tulsa. I think the Oklahoma Academic All-Stater is about the highest award that you can possibly receive as a high school student in the state of Oklahoma. You have to have a 30 or higher just to even be nominated. And I believe there was 538 applicants this year that were nominated, and the Oklahoma Academic All-Stater only takes the top 100. So it's definitely a very prestigious award. One more thing I'd like to say about Alex that I think I'm so proud of him for is that we talk a lot about all the programs we have at Enid High School, and Alex has maximized full potential. This past year, he'll be recognized here in a minute with the swim team, but he's also going out to EHS Works every day. He goes out to K&H Financial, a brand new program he's been a part of. He's also taking concurrent classes there on campus, and to top it off, he's taking 3 more AP classes as well. So every program that we offer at Enid High School, he's doing it, and he's doing it to the highest level that he can. So he truly represents the best of Enid High School.
Thank you, Mr. Darrow, for allowing me this opportunity. First of all, I'd like to thank the Enid High School for providing students with a path for great opportunities with a variety of classes and programs to take, to participate in. And like you said, I'm currently taking 3 AP classes and a concurrent English class through NOC and interning through the EHS Works program. And all these classes and programs have prepared me for the challenges to come in college. And I think with the help of these classes, I think I'm ready to go on, graduate, and go to college. And also, without Mr. Darrow nearly forcing me to submit the application for Academic All-State, I wouldn't even have known about or thought about this amazing award. So, Mr. Darrow, thank you for all the support that you have given me and helping me to reach beyond my abilities. Thank you.
So what are your plans, Alex?
I'm planning on graduating and going to OU and majoring in accounting. So that's why I'm interning at KH Financials.
Oh, all right. Well, good luck to you. Congratulations.
For our next recognition, we would like to recognize 2 very important partners to our district, the Enid Public School Foundation and Ray Davis. You may recall that just a few weeks ago, we announced a historic donation to the Public School Foundation through the Kevin and Vicki Davis Scholarship that's making a tremendous difference for students at Enid High School who want to achieve their dreams of college. So to tell you a little bit more about that, I'd like to introduce Jana Jackson, who is the Executive Director of the Public School Foundation.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to talk just a little bit about the Vicki and Kevin Davis Scholarship at Enid High School. Initially, a few years ago, Mr. Davis started a program where he would pay for the concurrent fees for any student who had a financial need who was taking concurrent classes at Enid High School at the University Center. So the board really played a big part in us getting that initial donation, your foresight and leadership in expanding our campus and adding University Center, and then having those professors come to Enid High School to offer classes really opened up that initial opportunity when Mr. Davis gave $314,000 to the foundation, which at that time was the biggest single contribution we'd ever received. Now he's given us $1 million to expand that program, and all those students who are working hard and taking concurrent classes at Enid High School who have that demonstrated financial need are going to be eligible to get 4-year college scholarships they can go get a 2-year scholarship at NOC and then move on to Oklahoma State, or they can do all 4 years at Oklahoma State. And it's substantial. It's $10,000 per semester for Oklahoma State, which is practically a full ride, and will probably be a full ride for these kids. And at NOC, it's $5,500 a semester. So we are just really fortunate at the foundation to have a community partner like Mr. Ray Davis. Unfortunately, he could not be here tonight, but he did send a representative. Her name is Julia Renault, and Julia kind of worked with us throughout this process, and she's going to continue as we get these applications in the next few weeks from students and select those scholarship winners. Julia?
As you guys can see, I'm not Ray Davis, but it is an honor to be here tonight with you guys on behalf of Ray. He asked me to read a letter that he wrote, and I provided Jana a copy of it. So I'm just going to read that to you guys at this meeting. To the Enid Board of Education and the Enid Public School Foundation, from Mr. Ray Davis. I feel privileged to have the means to offer our young women and men, through education, a pathway to a better life for them and their families. I am fortunate to have that advantage with my education starting at McKinley Grade School through the Enid Public School System. The growth and success of Enid can be attributed to its fine school system and the many educators, both past and present, who have devoted their time and wisdom to educate our children. The citizens of Enid have done their share by approving bond issues for new and improved facilities. Many thanks to Jana Jackson for her assistance in her board of directors. The Vicki and Kevin Davis Educational Fund would not succeed without the combination of this leadership. I feel most fortunate to be your partner. From Ray Davis.
Wow. Get a quick picture here. And that is the largest, donation to come to the Education Foundation, and we're just so appreciative of Mr. Davis. So if you will pass along our gratitude, we'd appreciate it, and it'll go a long way to helping a lot of kids. So thank you for coming tonight, and please pass on our appreciation again to Mr. Davis. Thank you.
Our next recognition is our boys and girls swimming team for an outstanding season. And here to tell us about it is Coach Lindsay Watts.
They're already laughing at me. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to recognize all of the swim team's hard work this year, and thank you to Enid Public Schools as a whole for understanding the importance of extracurricular activities with our students. We're here tonight because our swim team has done amazing things this year. Our boys team was the runners-up at the Big 12 or Big 10 conference meet this year, and they additionally were 4th in the state in the 6A category for academic achievement. And on the girls' side, they won the Big 10 championship meet and were also 4th in the state for academic achievement. So those things alone need a big round of applause.
Yeah.
And I believe we have certificates for all of them, so I will call them up individually, and we'll do the girls' team first and take a photo, I think is what we've done in the past, and then we'll do the boys' team and take a photo, okay? Alyssa Arambula. R.C. Bierig. Nicole Bushman. Audra Hempling. Nikita Higby. Just came from soccer practice. Jolie Holcomb. Jordan Pierce. Sydney Rogers. Elizabeth Ostermeyer. Emma Rose. Her hair is still blue. A bunch of the girls dyed their hair blue for our meet, and they thought it was going to come out right away. Oops. Daniela Sanchez. Morgan Trueluck. And Caroline Zendejas. Those are our girls.
And if some of the parents are here, you guys can come on up and take pictures right behind Amber if you want to. Congratulations, ladies. Let's give them another hand.
And our boys, let's start with Anthony Carranza. Hasiel Estrada. Edgar Hernandez. The man of the hour, Alex Kim. Staten Mance. Trig Randall. Sean Taylor. And Brian Higby.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and our final recognition this evening is for our EPS Chief of Police, Mike Dodds. Many of you know that he has been very active this year, helping us refine and improve our school security and safety measures. And he was recently named a finalist for Campus Safety Director of the Year by a national publication, Campus Safety Magazine. And they will be announcing that winner this summer in Nevada, and we know who the winner should be here in Enid, Oklahoma. In the article where he was featured, there were a few notable achievements that they mentioned. That Chief Dodds has been working with site and district administrators on the adoption of implementation of new safety protocols that are clear, consistent, and relevant so that they work across the board in the district. That he has identified and provided to the teachers who wanted to have de-escalation and additional safety training and provided that training. And that also now he takes part in weekly briefings with our first responders and different emergency management officials in the county and the city. We are very fortunate to have someone who is so committed to student safety because it is our #1 and greatest priority. So please help me recognize Chief Dodds this evening for this accomplishment. You can just say thank you. That's great.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Doug, Sam, Dr. Floyd, Dudley, and Randy, thank you.
Congratulations, Mike.
Okay.
Sorry, still me.
Oh, still you? Okay, it is still you.
I don't believe we had an audience to visitors. I give that to you.
Yep.
So.
Mhm.
No. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so yes, we have no audience to visitors, and so then we're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, and the first item is our continuing chair reports from our strategic planning committee leaders, and this month we're up with the strategic planning committee report on community partnerships, and Amber helps chair that committee, so Amber is up with that report.
Absolutely. We have an outstanding committee. Mrs. Jarnigan and Mr. Watts and I worked together this year on our Goal 3. You may recall that our goal focuses on the importance of community and parent relationships. Our goal specifically is that we will build and maintain partnerships that maximize the strengths, resources, and talents of our diverse community to expand student opportunities. The first year, we focused on improved communication. The second year, we focused on parent partnerships. Doesn't mean that those two things go away, but in year 3, we focused on business and community partnerships, and that has continued this year with the implementation of our EHS Works program. So a few things that we would like to tell you about related to our committee report are some of the ways that we have worked with the community to expand opportunities for our students. We heard about one of them this evening, and that is the expansion of the Vicki and the Kevin Davis Educational Scholarship expansion. Between it and the donation from the Allen family, there have been more than $3 million donated in the last 2 years to help our students in greatest need go to college, which really sets us apart from other districts across the state. You heard a few weeks ago about the Edward Jones School sponsorships, where they have donated $16,000 to elementary schools just to make sure that they have the materials they need to provide innovative and enriched opportunities to their students. We just recently celebrated the announcement that our Islander Club would be partnering with the Field Museum. We are learning every day about the amazing opportunities, what it will mean when they go to Chicago and what they will be able to experience. And we're so very proud that they have been given the opportunity not only to represent our district and our community, but also their culture. And we know that that'll just continue to grow and there'll be more opportunities. And the final thing I want to mention is our progress on the Northwestern Early Childhood Collaboration. Obviously construction is underway. I'm sure that Mr. Shuck will be mentioning that project in his report, But we are also moving full steam ahead, making sure that we are prepared for enrollment, and we're going to serve the students who will benefit most by being a part of that program. And it's been great for us to have discussions with Northwestern about how it will benefit not only our young learners, but their teachers that we hope will come back and be a part of our program. We have spent the majority of our time, however, implementing the EHS Works program, which is the internship program at Enid High School. It has been an amazing success, and that is in large part to Mr. Watts, who is coordinating that program. He has done a phenomenal job. I like the enthusiasm. He deserves a round of applause. Yes, yeah. And I sat in an interview process with about 10 Enid High School students just a few weeks ago with local business leaders, and I would say 8 of the 10 students who came in said that they were a part of Enid High, the EHS Works. And the business leader said, "You got to tell us more about that. What's going on?" And we had even more people who were interested in being part of it. But rather than me talking about the success, I'd like to let the people who have made it a success do the talking. So Gabe Watts, if you could join us at the podium and share with us about your amazing program.
Good evening. So as Amber said, my name is Gabe Watts. I am the EHS coordinator. This is obviously my first year with Enid High School. I want to thank the board for allowing us to come in and speak and bring some of my students here to talk about what they do and the opportunities that we've been afforded. Enid High School students are very fortunate to have an opportunity to have this program. We're one of a little over a handful of schools in the state that are able to do this at this point in time. I think we'll see more in the future, but right now we're on the verge of being the new person here. So these programs are preparing our students to reach their post-secondary goals and give them a goal to strive for and an idea of what they want to do as they go into college and beyond. Currently, we have 36 students paired with a little over 20 businesses in town, getting hands-on relevant work experience through their internships. EPS TV came in and shot a little video that we'll show in just a second. This kind of gives you a little more insight into our program and what we do in class. And then after the video, we do have 3 students with us today that will just share their personal experiences and kind of what they do day in, day out at their internships. So thank you, guys. EHS Works is a new program this year that came to light through Enid High. It's a student internship program, so students get the opportunity to go out in the community and work with jobs during their school hours to get firsthand experience and knowledge in a certain career field that they're interested in pursuing after college or after high school.
I think it's a great opportunity for me to gain real-life experiences before actually entering into the field and get some practice in before I know like what stuff I'll be doing with it. So yeah, I think it really benefits me with the real-life experiences.
All right, so I'm currently interning at Envirotech Engineering Consultants, and basically what I do there is various SOLS class tests, AutoCAD work, which is a program that the engineers use.
Well, I think one of the challenges we have in Enid is allowing our students to understand what kind of business opportunities exist once they graduate from high school or college or career tech. And so the big benefit I see is allowing students in Enid to experience what it's like to work for us, and hopefully they'll remember that and either come back to work for us or tell their friends.
I think one of the ways that it's really benefited that I maybe hadn't expected is it's kind of refreshing for me to get kind of in the same rut of doing the same thing all the time, and having Alex here and being able to teach is good for me as well.
The benefit to the student is the fact that they get firsthand knowledge in a certain career field that they're interested in. And so they may have an idea of what a lawyer does, from whether it be on TV or, however they hear people talk about it, but they don't get the firsthand knowledge in the day-to-day. So this allows them to get firsthand experience in those certain career fields.
One of the things we did before we implemented the program and started working with EHS Works is Mr. Watts actually came out with Alex, and all three of us met together to make sure it was going to be a good fit, that I was going to be comfortable with it, that he was going to be comfortable with it, and that made the decision really easy.
The exposure that we give our kids as they're going through the educational system about jobs that we have in our community is vital. You know, I think when I went through Enid High School, myself and all my friends couldn't wait to get out of here, but I think it's because we didn't realize what opportunities exist within our own community. It's easy to talk about wanting to go to the big city, but once you get there, maybe you figure out that it's not as great as you thought. And understanding that there are places you can go to work and earn a very good living in Enid, Oklahoma is important. And it's not something that we communicate very well to our kids when they're coming up through high school. And so this is a great opportunity to get our company names out there, to let the kids in high school understand what we do and what opportunities exist.
I was going to introduce these guys. First, we'll bring up Alex Kim. He is with KH Financial downtown, and he'll kind of talk about, he's only been there about a month, so he'll talk about kind of some stuff that
you got two others also. Go ahead and introduce them, and they can come on up too.
So we have Rashawn Mohan, who's with Envirotech Engineering, and then Harley Hitt, who's with the City of Enid doing PR and marketing.
Come on down. Go ahead, Alex.
You guys probably got tired of me, so I changed up
Nah.
a little bit. So I'm at like he said, I'm at KH Financials, and what I do with them is I get to sit in on meetings with his clients or update new Social Security benefits that clients are receiving right now. So I think it's a great opportunity to go beyond classroom settings and then get real life experiences outside, diving into the actual field that I want to be studying in. So I think EHS Works is a great opportunity for students in future years to gain valuable experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who's next?
Hello, so my name is Rashawn Mohan, and I am the intern at Envirotech. And interning at Envirotech has allowed me to actually find out what I want to, major in. So before I started, I knew I was going to do some sort of engineering, but wasn't decided yet. But now that I have interned at Envirotech, I'm pretty positive I'm going to be doing civil engineering. So yeah, EHS Works is a great way to find out what you truly want to do in the future.
All right, thank you, sir. And Harley, you're in charge of straightening the city out.
Yep. My name's Harley.
How's that coming along for you?
It's coming.
Getting there, okay.
Yeah. I started on October 1, which seems like a long time, but it's gone by really fast. I'm going to be really sad to leave it. I do a lot of cool things for the city. I'm in their PR marketing department, so I work on the website. That's a big thing that's happening right now, so stay tuned for the new website,
Okay.
enid.org.
Good.
That's a big thing. I also am currently writing the State of the City address. That's another huge thing going on. And then every Wednesdays I go to ETN, which is the Enid Television Network, and I've done PSAs, I've done bumpers, I help with Good Morning Enid, I help with Community Talk, all their different television programs. It's a lot of fun. I think the main thing that EHS Works has given me is not only a second family with Mr. Watts and all the other kids, but is also the fact that I know what I'm going to study because of EHS Works. And I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity.
Well, congratulations to you all, and Gabe, thank you very much.
One thing we forgot to mention is many of the students actually are also paid for their work. I told Harley, why don't you come work in marketing communications with me. Well, they're paying her. So, and I would say that's money well earned. And I mean, I know the other businesses are thrilled to have the students as well. As Mr. Stallings said in the video, you can see the benefits to our students, but this is also a way that we bring great value to the businesses that are so supportive of our community. And we would be, before everybody runs off, we'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
My only question is, what are the qualifications the students have to be in EHS Works?
I'm going to let Mr. Watts answer the specifics, but he does have an application process that they have to go through.
Yeah, so the students do have to apply, and really I'm looking for three things. I look obviously at their grades, make sure they're passing their classes, but really because we're sending them out to these businesses, I have to trust that they're going to show up, and I have to trust that they're going to show up on time. So I really look at their attendance and their tardies. Nothing will burn a bridge with us faster than having a student that doesn't show up to work, like many of you know, being in business and that sort of thing. So I tell my kids the very first day, I stress, how important it is to be there, be on time. 90% of doing a good job is just showing up. So if we can get you to show up, we can teach you the rest. So that's pretty much the only qualifications that I have for the program.
What about on the other side, how do other businesses that aren't currently participating, if they're interested in doing so, how do they go about doing it?
So on that application as well, there's an option, there's 3 blanks there that they can fill in with what they're interested in. I try to pair the student with what they're interested in because it just creates more buy-in and just keeps them more in tune and more motivated to go to that internship. Now, I have had some businesses, stop me, whether it be at the career fair or, even out, Walmart or whatever. How do I do this? And so I take their information, and if I do get a student who would be a good fit for that, that's when I would reach out to the business and talk to them about being a partner with our program.
Good. Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks,
well
sir.
done. And then board members, next month, the strategic plan committee report is facilities, and we hear that every month from Michael, which brings us to the next part of the superintendent report, which is construction. Michael?
We'll start out with the schedule, and the big thing here is weather. I know everybody's getting sick of hearing of that. I'm getting sick of hearing that, but it is a real issue with the ice storms and stuff like that we've been having. Every one of them is just a couple weeks behind because of that right now. You can also see that in the various other projects that are working around the city. Wood Ring, Chisholm, Pioneer all had articles in the paper recently saying that they were behind because of weather. So that's the big story there on schedule. We have been talking to the different contractors. They've been doing different things like using heated mats, or covers like that where they can move a little faster in certain areas. So we're trying to do some things, speed it up. Also trying to take advantage of good days like today. Went around a couple of construction sites, and it was kind of like a little a beehive. There was so many people on them working in certain places. So they're trying to make it up, but that's the big story on the schedule right now. Adams, we started work on the foundations. The stair to the basement and the elevator pit are under construction. We're working with the city on that east side drop-off. At Northwestern, the foundations, this is where they're being installed. They're complete now. The underground plumbing, that's moving along really nicely, and it's complete. And the slab formwork, that's started. And today, this was one of the beehives that was going on. They've already got it just about ready to pour out there, so that was moving really pretty well. Longfellow, the classrooms, most of those have been painted. They're working on the ductwork, as you can see in the ceiling there. There's some ceiling work that started. This is one of our accent ceilings in the hub. I'm not sure what we're going to call that area, the little pod that's there in that area. The art room, they're working on that renovation, and this is taking a real big jump from this image. That whole wall's red now, so it looks really pretty nice.
The outside, the addition, the steel, that's moving along pretty nice. This has been one of those places that's kind of stopped and started because of it. Longfellow was kind of nice because they could send some people inside and come back outside and keep working there. Enid Sports is working on pricing, or looking into pricing the soccer field right now, and we're trying to get ready to start pricing the playground part of that. The high school, we took a little liberties here trying to be artistic, I think, with our photo. But the green wall on the south side there is now the blue wall. And that's the waterproofing that's coming around, as we've kind of talked about that before. The gym roof has started. You can kind of see that dark hole back in the back where that's the spirit room. They've got the roof over that, so that's good. That and this image here is of the window installation starting, so that's that enclosure part that I keep talking about. So that's starting to move pretty well and allowing us to get inside. Here's some of the duct work. They're putting up some of the main trunk lines. They've done that in area C and B, which is the band wing, and then the black box theater area. So they're getting a good start on that. So that's kind of where I've got there. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it. Next, I wanted to mention, finishing up on some construction stuff. Michael and Amber are working on a sign out at the Commons that will say something to the effect of Early Childhood Learning Center at the Commons, and they're just trying to work out whether or not they're going to put both the Commons logo and our logo on there, but they're working on that, so you might see that out there in front of the Commons pretty soon. And I believe that's it on construction. Thank you, sir. Enrollment, we're up to 7,720 students as of March the 4th, and that was actually up 28 students from last month, so that's good, moving in the right direction. We like that. Wanted to remind you that we've got our big teacher career fair coming up on March the 14th. That'll be right here in this room, 4:30 to 6:30, so if anybody knows any teachers that are looking for a job, please send them our way on March the 14th. We'll have all the principals here and be able to talk to them about what vacancies they anticipate and be able to visit with those folks that are interested in teaching for EPS next year. And then lastly, we have our Enid Early Childhood Robotics Fair and iPad Share and STEM presentation will be out at Prairie View on March the 28th. That's a Thursday from 5:30 to 7. And also that is the same evening that the Parent Pack will do their big kickoff. I believe Roxanne Pollard and some others are kind of behind that, and they've invited State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister to that event, and she will be I'll do a welcome, and then she will be the keynote speaker for that event. So I've invited Superintendent Hoffmeister also to come either before that event or after that event to hopefully witness some of our early childhood robotics students doing their thing out at Prairie View as well. So hopefully she'll be able to work that into her schedule, and we're glad to be hosting the state superintendent here, hopefully for 2 events on that day. And let's see what else I had. Board members, I don't believe any of you are going to the OSSBA Day at the Capitol, which is tomorrow, are you? We have opportunity to talk to our legislators at the legislative breakfast that we host on the second Friday of every month, so I didn't think any of you were going to that, but that's a good event. We appreciate OSSBA hosting that. And then yesterday, I got a call from Mike Cooper, and you might know him. He's the guy that is kind of the military guru around these parts. He's helped with the Oklahoma Strategic Military Planning Commission and also sits, I believe, on the National Association of Defense Communities. Both Mike Cooper and Dr. Pam Deering, Executive Director of COSA, have moved my name forward as a recommendation for sitting on the Oklahoma State Council for Educational Opportunity for Military Children. And so I appreciate them forwarding my name to the governor to sit on that committee, and hopefully they won't find out about my past, but if not, well, maybe I can get appointed by the governor to that committee. But basically, Colonel, you may know a little bit about this, that I believe the intent of that Oklahoma State Council for Educational Opportunity for Military Children, they talk about things like how can we make the transition easier for families and students and spouses, et cetera, in the transition, and can we get their records funneled to the right place earlier and make the transition easier for the whole families. And so, as I understand it, that's kind of what that committee is about, and I'll be happy to serve if the governor sees fit. And then lastly, you've got another copy of the Points of Pride. We're really proud of this document. Amber and her shop did a wonderful job of putting this together, as they always do, but there are just a number of wonderful things that are happening that are great in our school district. That we saw a number of the great things tonight, but there are a whole bunch of others that go unheard of, and this is just a sample of the great things happening in our district. So please share that with as many folks as you can, and it is now online and accessible, so you can read that online as well. I believe that's the extent of my superintendent report.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Floyd. Okay, moving on to item 4, regular business. We can take item 4A, 1 through 5, all as one consent agenda item.
Move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Colin, second by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 4B, discussion and possible action to approve the district financial report for February of 2019. Dr. Robinson?
You got a one-page handout there at your place, board members.
Well, the financial report, there's not too much change from last time we met, other than I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank Garfield County for a change that they've made. We no longer have to go pick up checks for our ad valorem collection from them.
Yay!
So they direct deposit that for us now, and so we get an email notification. So thank you, Garfield County, for making those deposits into our account much easier. It has been a good transition. I'm glad that they made that change. It's been good for everybody. Collections are doing really well. Expenditures were down a little bit this past month, so that's another piece of good news. But we're still moving forward, and things are looking really good. And even this month's, the February financial report from the State Treasurer's Office even indicated good news as far as state revenues are concerned. And that's with an oil price of below $50 a barrel being reported on taxes. So let's all hope that the economy keeps moving forward as predicted and as it has in the past, and things will look really good for this district.
I move we approve the financial report for February.
Second.
Okay, motion by Willie Joe and second by Trent. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Yes, ma'am. And the motion carries. Moving on to item 4C, discussion and possible action to approve a contract with Property Arts, Inc., Daryl R. Bird as architect for roof repairs district-wide as they are related to an insurance claim for hail damage. Dr. Robinson?
This is part of an insurance settlement that we've been looking at since last fall. There was some hail damage noticed on one of our roofs, so we contacted our insurance provider, and they have inspected every roof in the district, and there is significant hail damage that does require repair. There is also the case of the age of our roofs. We have several roofs that are at the over 15 mark, and so replacing those roofs would be a costly endeavor for the district and not fully covered by insurance because of depreciation and those kind of things. However, we've been presented with a repair option that is, I hate to use this as the way to describe it, but it's the best way to describe it where it makes sense. As it's like applying paint over wood. As long as you apply the right kind of paint over wood, that wood will last forever outside. The same type of concept is what we're looking at a repair. It's definitely not a paint. It is a material that goes with our roof system, but it's a product that if you apply it like paint, our roofs will last forever as long as we continue to maintain them and do this. This roofing system does come with a 8-year warranty that goes on the roof. So our roofs are warranted for 8 years, and then the life of the roof is expected to go to 10 years. And so again, in 10 years, would be faced with doing something similar. Total cost for this project has been estimated somewhere between $2 and $4 million. The cost to the district, however, is our insurance deductible of $10,000. And so insurance will be covering the cost to have almost 1 million square foot of roof in this district repaired with this product. The architect, Property Arts, you have to have an architect for this. They come out, they'll look at our roofs. Along with this, they also look at all of our HVAC units, anything that's sitting on the roofs that also has been indicated to have hail damage that will fall into that repair or replace category as well, and covered once again by insurance. So there's not even any cost for the architect fees. There's only cost for the roof repair is the deductible. Property Arts has been working with us already, not under contract, not under any obligation to us. And Mr. Garrison and I have been to inspect some roofs. Mr. Garrison has inspected some roofs without me, and we think this is a very solid option to take care of our roofing needs, to repair the hail damage that's happened. And Property Arts is highly recommended by your insurance company. We've had another school district that's under similar circumstances as we are with roof repair, and they have indicated that that they've had no problems whatsoever. So when you have the insurance company that's paying for the roofs, a school district's had success with the architect, we feel that this is why we need to go with Property Arts as our architect for this project. So we look for your approval of this architect, and again, it will be paid for by the insurance. Just so you know how this process works, the architect we have to approve the architect because the architect will bill us. In turn, we bill OSIG, our school insurance group. They then go through their process, approve payment, they pay the district, and the district then finally makes payment to the architect. And so that's why you guys have to approve the architect fees on this.
Move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Kyle, no, not Kyle, Colin. Sorry. Any discussion?
Yeah, I noticed there wasn't any date for the project completion. And are they going to do, they have not looked at our roofs, but they've already made an estimate of how much it's going to cost, or just by the area?
The actual estimate came from we've had two estimates on the roofs. Actually, we had our initial OSIG insurance group came out and looked at it, and then the reinsurers came and they actually did the full write-up estimation on it through our inspection. So our estimates are from the reinsurer group. Property Arts has not done a full inspection of our roof systems at this time. They really don't want to do that until they're signed up to get paid to do that process. But I feel very confident in the roof inspection system that's happened because our guys were with the reinsurers and the first insurance group that came out and inspected all those roofs, and they said it was thorough. They were pulling on things. We have several pictures that they've taken on the roofs. They even went over to Selby Stadium on the part of the roof system that's under the bleachers and inspected over there. So to me, it was a good inspection. I feel really good about the pricing.
What is the timing of the project?
The timing of the project, this is kind of the unique thing, is we're hitting this just about right because we could not have done this roof repair back in January and February because of temperature conditions. There is a temperature threshold, and it's 40-something degrees, and really you don't want to have a lot of rain, just like any roof system that would go on. So we're looking at getting this all completed before school starts next year. The real timetable is, what is the architects, when they get on the roofs, what do they see that needs to be repaired as far as equipment is concerned? We've talked to actually 3 different roofers. We've talked to 2 different chemical companies, and they have all told us that they could do 1 million square foot in a month.
I was wondering what kind of a timeline they were proposing or would propose after they looked at it.
Of course, that's weather dependent.
That's all weather dependent, but everybody is very confident that if you start a project like this going into April, May, June, and July, those are the very best times to apply this roof system and move forward. So.
Sam, and it's for all sites except for the 2 new grade schools, is that correct? Because they're built after the... So you said they're good for about 10 years, under warranty for 8, is that right? Mm-hmm. So in 10 years, are we looking at a $4 million redo?
It could be a redo. I will. Let me give you some pricing on re-roofing. Re-roofing is part of the estimate that we got from the insurance group. Re-roofing is anywhere between $8 to $10 million at this point with no knowledge of what's underneath the roof system. And I'll give you a good example. Putnam City did a re-roof job on several of their campuses, and once they started pulling the roof up, they realized that their decking was not in a good state, and the roof company kind of stopped work until they came up with several $100,000 above what was estimated to repair those parts of the roof. The other part that comes with a total re-roof project that I'm cautious of, Mr. Garrison and I have visited about this, is you have to pull all your rooftop units off of your buildings when you put on a new roof. And there's several new code factors that go into that, and this is from talking with this architect and another one, that the curbing that those units go back onto have to be brought up to code. Not that there's anything wrong with our current curbing system, it's just the codes have changed, and it's significant changes to the curbing, and that's how high it sits off the roof deck. And that's an unknown cost that they really can't estimate until they actually pull that whole system off. And then when you pull a unit off of a roof, an HVAC unit, especially one that's 10 plus years old, and we have some of those, there's always that factor if something gets shaken up, you go to put it back on, and it doesn't work like it did before. With this repair system, $2 to $4 million, you don't have to worry about those issues because they don't pull those units off. So while we can say that we have a possible $8 to $10 million re-roof project in this district, it could substantially increase through all of the unknowns, where it could be 12, 14 million by the time it's all said and done, and that would definitely require a bond. I think the one unknown on pricing, the reason it's 2 to 4, is because the chemical companies sell you the chemical based on your square footage. And they don't want to talk to us about pricing until it goes to bid because they don't want us talking to competitors and those kind of people. So the more square footage you have, the cheaper the product gets. If we were only spraying this building, for instance, we might have to pay $6 or $8 a square foot to have it sprayed. If we're doing 1 million square foot, it could be as low as $2 a square foot sprayed and installed with the chemical companies. So we're at an advantage that we have a large volume. The other thing is that you have a roof that's 20 years old. If you can extend it for another 10 years and then you spend another $2 million, get you 10 more years, you're looking at your roof systems. You're not ever replacing them again potentially, and you're spending less than a quarter of the cost it would to replace them. And a roof is really only good for 20 to 30 years overall.
Makes sense.
Sounds like we have pretty good insurance. Don't miss a payment.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Very good insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know if I killed enough time for Mr. Carroll to get here.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, he walked in. Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? And the motion carries.
Appreciate you working on that, Sam. That's a good steward of public trust and the public's money, and that's a outstanding investment for $10,000. A lot of roofs going to get redone for an investment of $10,000. So, good job.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 4D, discussion and possible action to approve the report of the independent audit of fiscal year 2018 transactions for Enid Public Schools. Turn it over to Dr. Robinson again to introduce Mr.
We're going to take and turn it over to Mr. Carroll so he can talk about our audit.
I'm going to let you introduce him. How'd you want it?
Pat, thanks for coming today. And is this your second or third audit presentation of the night?
This is only my second.
Just your second. Okay. We appreciate you coming.
Free tomorrow.
Okay.
And I appreciate Sam stalling.
Pull that mic a little closer to you. There we go.
Appreciate him stalling for me till I got here.
Yeah, worked out just right.
I need you all to sign this for me. I need to have proof that I was here, even though I'm required to be here by the state and the federal government. The state board wants proof that I'm here, so I have to also have a copy of the board minutes, a copy of the agenda, and then maybe they'll believe I showed up.
So that's just proof that you were here?
Yes.
That's not approval of the audit until we get to that action item. So, okay, appreciate it. We'll pass that around as you're talking.
This is your audit for the 17-18 fiscal year. There are 3 opinion letters in here because you spent more than $750,000 in federal money. That makes you what's called a uniform guidance. So not only do we check your financial statements and look to see how you did with internal control and compliance, we also have to look at a number of your major federal programs. Matter of fact, we have to look at 40% of those. We can't look at the same ones each year. We have to change the different ones that we look at each year. So over a period of time, we're going to look at almost all your federal programs. You have a few that are very small, but we'll look at all of them as we go over a number of years. On page 4, 5, and 6 is the first letter. It's an unqualified opinion letter over the financial statements taken as a whole. This is concerning the regulatory basis of accounting, why it's unqualified. The federal government would like for us to be on an accrued basis of accounting, but the state of Oklahoma has us on a regulatory basis, so it's a modified cash. It's very conservative. We only count our money when we've actually received it, but we count our expenditures when you as a board have approved purchase orders. We haven't received the goods, we haven't paid for them, but that's money that's being reserved back in the year that we actually have approved those, as you as a board have approved those items. So for the state, this is an unqualified opinion. It's what you want. It means we didn't find a material misstatement or a deficiency that changed how these financial statements were presented. There are 3 major financial statements. I'll go over those quickly. The first one's on Exhibit A. Shows you the governmental fund types that you have. The general, special revenue, debt service, and capital projects. You also have trust and agencies. Those are going to be your activity funds and your gift and endowment fund. These are monies that you have that you're in control of, but it's not your money. You've approved these sub-accounts to the different activity funds. You approved how they can raise the money and how they can spend the money. You've already done that, but at this point in time, it's not yours. So it's going to show up on your balance sheet, but it's not going to show up on your income statement. You're responsible for it, but it's not your money. It's kind of like having kids. But it shows the assets that you have in each one of these fund types, in any investment that you might have. The last column, or next last, is your account group. That's general long-term debt. It shows the amount of money that we have on hand currently and the money that we have to collect on the ensuing years to pay off the remaining portion of our debts. But it shows the assets, any liabilities with each one of these funds, and then the fund balances. The fund balances are broken into restricted and unrestricted. The only unrestricted is your general fund. That's where you do your operations. That's where you're going to pay your insurance, your utilities, your salaries, things like that. But as far as the others, they're broken into restricted areas, whether it's debt service, capital projects, building programs, or your child nutrition programs. You add the fund balance to your liabilities, and it's going to come up with what your assets are. Exhibit B is an income statement. I'm going to talk pretty quick. I've got your attention just so long on some of the things I want to talk about. You want me to get to the back and tell you what I found, but I want to tell you some other things to look at, so I'm going to talk pretty quick through this. But if you have any questions, please ask them. Exhibit B is an income statement. It shows the governmental fund types again. It shows the revenues by the major sources, the expenditures by the major types of expenditures, the excess of revenues collected over or under expenditures. You can see there's a decrease in our debt service and our capital projects. It's supposed to happen that way. On the debt service, you're going to collect money for 2 years in your sinking fund before you ever pay anything off. And that sinking fund is to pay off those bond issues that you voted. But you're going to collect that money for 2 years. After you've collected, you're going to start paying off that debt, so those funds are going to go down. On the capital projects themselves, you're going to collect money that for the projects, for the bonds, your bond projects, you're going to collect the money, and then it's going to go down. The only money that shows up on revenue collected under capital projects is usually interest earned up in the top portion. The remaining portion on the sale of the bonds comes in on other financing sources because it's not really revenue. We sold the bond debt to get these dollars. We had adjustments during the year. We had adjustments to prior year encumbrances. I told you that we hold money out in a particular year that it's been obligated by you as a board. If we do not receive those goods or services, we don't lose that money. It's canceled and it's brought forward into the ensuing years after that. But it shows the excess of the deficiencies of revenues collected over or under expenditures, and you add that to the beginning balance. Again, it gives you the fund balance that we had to start the current year with. Exhibit C is a budget to actual. It shows two of them. It shows an original and final budget. You can't spend more money than's been budgeted, than's been appropriated or budgeted to you. If you've collected more money and you want to spend it, you have to do a supplemental appropriation. It has to be approved by you as a board, and then it can be put into your budget, then you can spend it. But if it's not there, you cannot spend those dollars. So there's an original and final budget, then the actual column is what I just showed you on the proceeding schedule. It's for our special revenue, our general fund, and then our debt service. The notes to financial statements tell you all about your district. Tells you a lot about your district. I suggest if you haven't read it, you read it. It's not good reading. Mark your spot. You may not want to start over. It's written by accountants. It's written by attorneys, but there's a lot of information in there about your district. Talks about your accounting policies, talks about the fund accounts that you have, the governmental fund types that the district has, your basis of accounting and the presentation. If you go to page 11, we'll talk about general long-term debt, bottom page number. We have several issues that are out. The first one you see was the 2017 general obligation bonds. That pays out in June of 2020. We also have the Garfield County Educational Facilities Authority that we have a lease purchase with. That'll pay out in September of 2024. And we also had another bond that I think just paid out this last year, but it doesn't show up on this financial statement because it had paid out. It looks like there's a lot to it, but I'll tell you this is the only way you've been able to take care of the facilities that you have. The only other way to do that is through your building fund, and that's a 5 mil levy, and we don't collect enough money in that 5 mil levy to build anything. We're lucky to be able to maintain the facilities. We're lucky to be able to pay utilities, things like that, because it's not much money that comes into the building fund. So you've done the right thing by the lease purchases and these bond funds that you've had. The constituents of this district have been supportive of you, and you've done a very good job. If you look around and see what the facilities are, it looks very nice. I'm not really supposed to say nice things about you. I'm supposed to tell you everything bad, but you've done a really good job with it.
Thank you.
After the notes to financial statements, we have combining statements. We have a combining special revenue under Schedule A1, where the special revenues are your building fund and your municipal tax fund. The municipal tax fund is money that's collected through the city of Enid and given to the district for capital expenditures. But you can see what we've got in the building fund. We've got $2 million, $2.5 million in there. We still have money in our municipal tax fund. You've been using that for the correct things. It shows the cash on hand, any liabilities outstanding, and what our fund balance forward is. Schedule A2 are your bond projects, your bond funds. It shows the number of bond funds that the district still has that are utilized. The 2016 bond fund, we had a transportation bond, we had a 2003 general purpose bond that's been added to over the years. We have the general obligation revenue lease payment bond that we're paying off that lease purchase that we talked about, and a GO revenue lease payment also that's being used to pay off those lease purchases. But it shows the cash on hand, the liabilities that are outstanding, and then the restricted money that are for the projects that have been voted. A3 gets a little bigger. This is all your activity funds. It shows by the different activity fund, the monies that you have, whether it's the elementary, the junior highs, the high school, the school lunch fund. We have a donation and gift fund, and we also have a gift and endowment fund. But it shows by fund each one of those monies, the outstanding dollars that they have, and the fund balances at the end of the year, if there are any, because most of those monies are considered to be restricted because they're due to the activity funds. The only ones that do not have that restriction would be your gift and endowment and your gift fund. Schedule B1 is an income statement for your building fund and your municipal tax for the special revenue. I told you don't collect a lot of money in there. You can see how much money you collect in it as opposed to the money you put into the capital expenditures. It's not enough to build anything.
Sorry, just one question just to prove I was paying attention. So I noticed that we had a balance in the child nutrition fund. at the end of the year. Is that something that should not have occurred?
In the
Sam
small
shaking
one?
yes.
No, we're not supposed to have that. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, okay.
That's the one thing I'm going to talk to you about. We've talked about that before. That small fund is not supposed to have money into it. There's several accounts within the activity fund that cannot have a balance at the end of the year. One's the child nutrition. The other one would be a clearing account, and the other one would be a refund sub-account if you have it. Those monies are to be cleared into the district each year at the end of the year. This one was not. So that's one.
That's where we sweep it to the general fund. Yeah.
It would. It's not much money, but it is a requirement by the state that it's closed. Several years back, you closed the child nutrition into the general fund, so that money would be placed into the general fund. You caught that real quick.
Yeah, that was a good catch.
B1 again shows the income statement for the building fund and the municipal tax fund, the expenditures that we had, the excess of revenues over expenditures, the adjustments that we had encumbrances that had been canceled from the previous year that we did not spend, so that money's put back in. You add those to the beginning balance and it comes up with our fund balance forward. Would have the same thing with Schedule B2. It's with the bond funds. It shows the minimal tax or the minimal revenues that come in, which is only interest earned. We also had the expenditures that went out. It shows what the excess of the revenues collected or under, in this case, the expenditures. We had some sale of bonds. We had bonds that we sold for transportation. We also had the GO revenue bonds of 2010 where we put money. They're not the 10, but they're just the fund we put it into. And then we also had money we put into the 2016 general obligation bonds. Again, it comes up with our beginning balance. We take the decrease or add the increase to them, and it comes with our fund balance at the end of the year. Schedule C1 is just a budget to actual for the building fund and the municipal tax fund, and then the total on the right-hand side is what you see under Exhibit C for special revenues. Schedule 1 is why you have 3 reports. This is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. It shows on the left-hand side the federal programs that you have. The last 5 columns in over there deal with the expenditures and revenues that the district has. We started the year with an accrued balance of $432,000. That's money that we had spent in the previous year, but we had not received by June 30. During the year, we collected $7,349,000. We spent $7,779,000. I got a little big, which also left us with an accrued balance of $862,000. That's money that we had spent, but we had not received from the state of Oklahoma or the federal government by June 30. We don't usually get that in. We usually have an amount that's outstanding because we have to claim and write a warrant by June 2nd to be able to get that money in within this year. So that money that was spent after that, and a lot of that is salaries, we don't get that money until after June 30. We have since received those dollars. They just come in late because with the requirements, we can't have the encumbrance and the issue of the warrant by that June 2nd date. We've got a lot of activity funds after this. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but I want you to look at those because we have a lot of money that goes through the activity funds. In the elementary, we collected $360,000. We spent $372,000. Our junior highs aren't nearly as big. That'd be schedules 3, 4, and 5. We'll collect anywhere from 30 to 44 in one, and the other one we collected $33,000. And I want you to look at how many sub-accounts are in there. These are the sub-accounts that you've approved, how they can raise the money and how they can spend the money. Each one of these sub-accounts has a sponsor. That sponsor has the same responsibility as your treasurer and your encumbrance clerk. They have to make sure that these monies are receipted. They're turned into the custodian on a daily basis because anytime there's $100 within the activity fund, there has to be a deposit. We don't know how much money there is unless everybody turns their money in on a daily basis. So those monies have to be collected. They have to be receipted, collected, given to the custodian, and a deposit made. Before they can make an expenditure, they're to turn in a requisition because they can't spend more money than they have in their sub-account. So they have to go ahead and they have to make sure that they have the money in there. It has to be approved. Then they can make the expenditure. You see how many sub-accounts we have. You can go to the high school, which is on Schedule 6, and there's 2.5 pages of sub-accounts. These people have to be trained. Then they have to be trained again. Then they have to be reminded once more. And then you get new people and you start over. And it's important because this is our highest risk. It's cash. This is where we get cash into. And if that money stays within that sponsor and it doesn't go to the school, they don't receipt it, they don't get it to the custodian, and that money goes away, who's responsible? School never received it. Student doesn't want to pay it again. Parent doesn't want to pay it again. The teacher would be responsible. So it's not a penalty, it's a safeguard for them to do these things and make sure that they're done right. It's also a requirement that they get approval before they make an expenditure, again, because it's not their money, it's public money, and it's school money. So they have to make these things done, make sure they do these things correctly. We do a reconciliation with each one of these. We also do what's called a cash statement. We do it for the district, we do it for each one of these activity funds, which means we go through monthly, we add it all up. We want to make sure that the revenues add up monthly to the receipts. We want to make sure that the expenditures are adding up minus the outstanding to what the bank statement should be. So we'll look at those each time. We do it on the district side also the same way. The one area that I'll talk to you about is Schedule 8. This is our lunch fund, school lunch fund. Again, it shows on Schedule 8 the revenues that were collected, the expenditures that we made. Most of that money is transferred to the district because we cannot make a payment from the activity fund itself. The money's collected, it's put into the district, and the payments are made from there. The only thing that we can really do from there is we have some bank fees that are held out, and we have our credit card fees that are held out, and we do some refunds at the end of the year because we're really not supposed to carry money over and show it as a credit the next year. It's to be collected each year. But at the bottom you can see that we had a balance of $829. We're not supposed to have a balance there. We also, if you look at those, we have outstanding checks going back several years in a number of these accounts. Those should probably be stopped, which means they'd be canceled and brought back into the current year, because if they've been out since 2014-15, they've gone through the washing machine, they're somewhere lost in the trash, they're not coming back in. And that's for each one of these accounts. So they should be stopped and brought into the current year. And that's not just in the lunch fund, it's in each one of those funds. Starting on page 18 and 19 is our second letter. This is where we look at everything else I talked about. It's a compliance and internal control. This is when we check everything else. We look at we read your board minutes. We look at payroll. We look at teacher retirement. We check purchase orders. We check receipts. We check a number of the revenues that come in. On general fund and building fund, we check almost all the revenues. On the child nutrition, we go through and we check a number of the different receipts that are made at the different schools as they come through. Activity fund, we'll check a number of receipts. We'll check over 500 of the receipts that go through the activity fund. We want to make sure that these things are being done correctly. Like I said, we look at your teacher retirement, we look at board minutes, we do interviews with different people, we find out if they know what they're supposed to be doing. Within that, we found no material misstatements, and we didn't find any significant deficiencies for the district. We did find one item that we noted that we brought up as an exception under B1. Page 20 and 21's where we talk about our compliance with each major and federal program. Told you that we look over 40% of the federal programs that you have. That means we look over your allocation, we look over your budget, we look over how those expenditures have made. We look at the revenues that have come in. Are they been coded correctly? They've been put in the right year, they put in the right project. We found no material misstatements and no significant deficiencies within your federal programs. Page 22 is where we would talk about if we found any of those things. At the very top, you'll see it says type of auditor's report. It says adverse. I told you you had an unqualified opinion. This is due to the fact that the financial statements are prepared on a regulatory basis and not an accrual basis that the federal government wants. And since this is dealing with the federal programs, the first part of this says you have an adverse opinion because it's on a regulatory basis, not because we found anything wrong. See that we found no material misstatements or deficiencies either in the federal awards or internal control. The programs that we did check were the Title I cluster and the IDAB cluster. It's called a cluster because there's several programs within each one of those types. If we had found something wrong, it would be under Section 2, but we had nothing to report there. Last year we had one item on page 23, disposition of the prior year. Receipts were deposited but not posted to the ledger. That was within the activity fund. That was taken care of this year. The one item that we did talk about, the B1, is what was brought up earlier. The school activity fund had a balance at hand at June 30. Since these fund represents district level revenues, they should be transferred to the district general fund prior to June 30 each year. Overall, it's a good year. It was a good audit. It's a good program. We looked over a number of the bids you had. You had a bunch of bids. That was a lot to look at, a lot to go over, because those have to be done correctly and they have to be maintained at the school. And it's not just the bids you took, it's all the bids that were received. So we have to check through all of those to make sure those things have been done. It's a good year. You got some new people going on. They're trying real hard. They're doing a good job. It's nice to have, I can't give management. I'm not management, I'm the auditor, but it's nice when people ask before things happen so I can say this is legal and this isn't legal. Mm-hmm. And we get good questions, and it's not just a question about something, they're good questions that we get, and we appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have now heard the report. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Colin, second by Matt. Any discussion?
You got the sheet down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Pat, thanks for coming. How long you been doing this?
Doing this school?
Yeah.
Boy,
Long time.
long time. If you want to go back to when my father was since
Wow. Yeah. Well, we appreciate the.
I've been doing that with him since 1968.
I didn't think you had been doing it since 1940, but thanks for that clarification. Yeah, but we appreciate the thoroughness that you do each year on the audit, and I do agree that I appreciate Sam and the business folks contacting you in advance, because always is better to have that communication in advance to make sure you get it in the right place or do it the right way rather than get surprised on something at the end of the audit. But on page 24 at the end where we saw just that one minor thing on the child nutrition, that's a pretty darn good finding for a $73 million budget.
For how much goes through here and the number of people involved, that's really good.
Yeah, so appreciate your work. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5, new business. Do we have any new business?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on, item 6, reports and items of information from the board or comments. Colonel Cohen, do you have anything to add? Okay, thank you. Any board comments? Okay. Next, item 7 is our next regular meeting scheduled for April 15th, 2019 at 6:00 p.m. here in the Administrative Services Center. And then moving on to item 8, discussion and possible action to approve going into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Colin, second by Trent. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will go to executive session now.
Thank you, Robbie. Worked out good.
Thank you, Colonel.